Vimeo, you can have like 20 locations, and it doesn't take up any more bandwidth because you're actually streaming to Restream, and they're restreaming it to all those channels, right? What's going on down there? So everybody can also screen share. Now you've got a limit of 10 windows, and that does I think that includes screen sharing as well. But someone can also be on screen and share their screen at the same time, and they'll show up as two separate icons for our admins there. So you can put both of those in there. And you've got kind of all these different default layouts, right? I can let's see, I can grab Mike, put him center if I want to switch that. So when you think about content windows, whether it's screen share or whatever, it just is another window. So you can kind of arrange that however you want. In your list of people and just basically sources, if you put the, if it's you the one that's sharing the screen, the main content or whatever, you put that at the top, and then you'll always be the big one in any of these layouts, right? So you've got a couple, well, here, I'll just say, so to me, this is, I don't know exactly the right medium to use this for. That's kind of dependent upon you guys as sales guys. But just for a headspace, I think this is kind of that medium in between Zoom and something like vMix, right? It's really easy to bring people in. It's nice because let's say I'm an admin, I've got all my people in, my computer crashes, right? They don't get kicked out of the call, like in vMix calls, whatever, right? Because they're connected to the Restream server. So someone else can log in, I can log in, whatever. So that kind of maintains that integrity. There's certainly you got some limits on the layouts, right? So that, that's limited. You've got a lot of built-in things here. You can see we've got a custom background. All right, so that's just a little video clip intro I made for our last thing, right? And that's stored on the server. I can just play that right from Restream. So that's, those are very short video clips, whatever. For longer stuff, you can do a local video file playback, which works pretty well. What we tend to do is we tend to either hook up, a web presenter, or a lot of times I'll use Wirecast outputting as a virtual camera. And that's my camera, and I'll use that to play back video files, to share PowerPoint or whatever. So then I have, so that's the other really good way to do that, is just make that your camera as the tag, whether that's an encoder or a virtual solution. I think that's a good way to do it. We've got logos, right? And
it's not crushing that that camera input like the way Zoom does.
No, there is a little bit of crunchiness when it comes to the audio. So if you're playing back, playing back something that's really heavily music, it sounds okay, but it's still coming through as the webcam input. So it's probably the local video file, or if it's short enough, just embedding it right into your video clip section is a better way to do it.
So Josh, the video clips that you've already uploaded into your video clip folder here, those are only available for you to fire up. Or wait, no, I see them.
That's I mean, because we all have the same permission. So there's like basically the admin, which you, me, Brian, and Scott are logged into, and then all the guests. And so those files, overlays, video clips, all that stuff, that's really stored in the studio. So you don't have like a separate file section for different events, right? So you can only use this you couldn't use this the same day for 3 events, right? You'd have to have 3 separate licenses, which is doable.
Are some of these just the default ones, the included graphics, or did you upload
These are all ones I uploaded, but
Okay.
if you look at graphics under brand settings, I can click on default graphics, and now I have those default ones available.
Okay.
Right. So there's also, so you've got your logo section, you've got your overlay section. For this conference, we wanted to do sponsor logos for each section in the bottom, right? So we've done that. You can use those for lower thirds, or you can go over to the captions tab and use this as a lower third. And the colors, it's pretty simple, but the colors are customizable. But you can pre-make all these and then just launch them at the appropriate time. If you've got a lot of that stuff going on, that's why it's helpful to have 2 people logged in, so someone can maybe video switch, the other person can launch lower thirds, handle communication, stuff like that.
Is there an ability to, like, let's just say we're doing this show and the ECS logo is on top of Scott's tile. Do you have any customization of this layout where you can just slide those 3 up or move them, or is there the ability to kind of work around something like that?
Not really. You're limited to, we've got 6 optional layouts, right? So we got this one, I've got this profile one, which if you had, here, let me take some people out. I'll put you guys back on in a second here. So I've got this kind of thing, which is pretty cool, right? Got half screen. We've got so my window, let's say my window is content, right? Hold on, I just want to show people this. My window is the PowerPoint, and you've got your speaker, 4 speakers there. You've got this kind of layout, and then this one, which I do use a lot. So those are kind of your layout options, really. Which is, again, is why it's limited. And sometimes we have shows where they want something that's just not there, and so we have to jump over to Wirecast or Vmix or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So just for sales, it's really important that we all understand that this is highly templatized. Like, you can't.
Yes.
They get what they get, and then if they want something different, you're kind of at the mercy of what the templates do.
Yeah, and if you've got a lot of complicated layouts that have to switch seamlessly from one to the other, this might not be the best platform, right? There's no like setting up your shot and taking it, right? There's no preview. This is just taking the layout.
The edit is live, right? I can't like offline switch me and you.
Right. And if you find yourself butting up against that, it means you're using the wrong product.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be using Vmix.
For example, if you want to bring 4 people on at one time, you got to click first person, second person, third person, fourth person.
Basically, yeah. And there's some ways around that, right? So the admin guys, you can see that maximize button on all the source windows. So I could make Tim full screen, right? And then everyone else is actually still live on air under him.
Oh, you could.
So I could take Kevin off. I could take Dan off. You know what I mean? And then I make him unmaximize him, and then now you see I've got the number of people I want on the screen. Right. You can also do that while you're playing back like the video clip, because that video clip goes over them. So you can that's why I created that, right? So I can play that video clip, set up my shot under it, and then when the video clip is done, boom, it would restore to the layout that I wanted.
Again, no preview of that layout, right? You're just like how many and which screens are on.
Right, exactly. And so, I usually don't care too much about the order that people are showing up in necessarily. But.
Right. But that would be in a scenario where you're not going to come out of video and then roll 4 lower thirds that animate in and show everybody's name, because you don't know where people would be. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But this is good. The maximize button's great too if you're in a panel like this, right? Someone starts talking, you want to make them full screen. Mike's jabbering on about something. Great, I'll make him full screen, blah, blah, blah. I'll throw in, a lower third. Great, we go back to the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So really good for that kind of basic stuff. I mean, I really feel like it's if people are on the edge of like Zoom webinar or something just like a little nicer, people are pretty sick of Zoom webinars. You know what I mean? So you've got a client who's like, yeah, I want some graphics and stuff like that, but I don't know that I need like, you know, this huge setup kind of thing. I mean, one person can run this from one computer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a simplified way to do it for sure. Well, the other thing I'll show you real quick is this chat feature. So the admins, if you click on the top left, you've got this this chat, right? And right now I've connected it to our just AVEX like dummy YouTube account, and I'm not even logging into YouTube to stream. I needed to connect to a source in order to use this. But what it does let me do is have another space that I could, you know, if you're streaming to IBM, right, and you've got questions and stuff, we can copy those questions and put them in here, and that way they show up in an easier place to see than in the private chat. You could also put it in the private chat, but that gets a little confusing sometimes. Yeah. So I could, and I could show it on screen, but it's going to use my YouTube handle, right? So I probably don't want to do that. But for the salespeople and the people who are guests, right? For them, they see that chat window on the right, and it's always there. It's not like a little, so they don't have to worry about it popping up. So it's a little bit easier for them to see. The only weird thing about that is that you have to be streaming to YouTube or Facebook in order to use that feature.
Because YouTube and Facebook?
Because what the feature is actually for is if you're actually streaming to YouTube or Facebook, if people leave comments on those, it'll come in, right? So if I was streaming YouTube and someone on YouTube was like, hey, cool stream, guys, it would show up here, and then I could put it on screen. Which is really cool, but we almost never stream to YouTube or Facebook. But if we did, it would be a really cool feature. And then from there, yeah, you could show it. You could do that overlay thing.
Would it? I mean, that's kind of a tangent. But if you were streaming to both of those platforms, would it aggregate that in this chat section?
Yeah, you would, and you could see right here where it has my name, right? And it would, if it was Facebook, it would have, you know, my Facebook picture and say, you know, Josh on it. Yeah, cool. There might be other social services it works with, but those are the two main ones. But it doesn't work with Vimeo or IBM, like those kind of comments. Like it doesn't have that integration with that. But for me, just, you know, it bugged me that was like a place that the guests could see that was just not being used. And so by streaming to a dummy YouTube channel, one, I'm not using any more bandwidth, right? Because I'm telling Restream to stream there, so I'm not increasing my upload bandwidth, and I'm not ever putting it on screen. But it's just a nice place for audience questions to show up, so that people aren't always having to check the private chat. Yeah, but that's kind of it. Questions from the sales guys. What do you think? And you know,
what are you charging? What are you charging people to use this?
That's a good question. Gosh, I think we're mostly charging for the hardware, honestly. Like a couple streaming computers and stuff.
Mm-hmm. The subscription that you have currently, Josh, is like $40 a month, $50 a month?
It's $50 a month. I think I got it on a deal, so we're only paying $40. It's $40 a month. The other reason that we started using this instead of StreamYard, which is like literally identical to this and is also a very good product, but there's a separate service called Restream Scheduler that you can buy for anywhere from $50 to $100 a month in addition to this. But it lets you upload, like if you've cut together a video and you want it to stream live at a certain time, you can upload it to their servers. You can set the stream and time, and then it'll just stream for you. You don't even have to be around. I mean, we always have someone there that's like watching the stream, make sure it started off okay, but then, you know, your quality is going to be great because you're streaming from, you know, a server farm in DC, and you know, you don't really have to worry about something going weird. You know, it just streams it whenever you want. So that's a really cool feature we've used a few times.
I like that.
And that's an add-on. You know, I'll subscribe $100 for the month, and if I've got a couple events, and then the next month I'll just cancel it, and you know, it just depends on what we got going on.
If you're doing something like that, is there a way to, like, let's say we were doing breakout rooms and we uploaded all these videos to wherever, and they're streaming to YouTube, and then they're being re-embedded. If people, you know, have comments and there's a Q&A afterwards, can you have it so that, you know, your host is, your presenter has pre-recorded their presentation, but they're going to be there for Q&A afterwards, so they don't have to do the whole thing live, but then they can pop up and be like, all right, does anybody have any questions? Would that be doable with this?
Yeah, and we do that a lot with this.
With
you
the
wouldn't use the
scheduler?
scheduler program. You would just use this, and you would play back those videos, again, like I said, using a separate playback computer with an encoder, or I use Wirecast a lot in the virtual camera output, and then I just have my playlist there, my sources, whether it's a PowerPoint computer, pre-recorded video playback, yeah.
Okay, so but no way to do the scheduler part of it and then interrupt the scheduled video.
I think, yeah, it would be more trouble than it's worth in a sense to time that out. I mean, you'd basically hop in and then, you know, cancel the stream or override the stream or whatever. But you can only schedule one event at a time too.
Okay.
Like, so you'd have to have multiple licenses if you wanted to concurrently stream several things, I guess. So.
And that's the same even if you're just doing the regular stream, right? We would have to have an account for each one. So if you had 3 tracks of breakout rooms, you need 3 accounts at least to, like.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, to your point, I think just that the handoff between recorded and live works really well in this format, and scheduler is just for pre-recorded only. You know, like, hey, this video looks great. I've approved it. I want you to stream it next Tuesday at 6 p.m. You upload it, schedule it. You're like, great. It'll show up on your YouTube channel at 6 p.m.
Right.
Now the playback files, like you showed us that video file that was brief, those are file size limited, right? So it's not like you could upload a whole, you know, hour-and-a-half long presentation.
That's correct, right? So I've got 2 video clips on there. I've got a commercial. I think your limit is maybe 5 minutes or like 150 megabytes. So it's definitely meant for video stingers or short commercials. You know, if you had a bunch of commercials, you could make them individual or whatever. But then if you need to play back either a pre-recorded presentation or an actual video, you'd want to, I would say the preference would be to play it back through your camera window with an encoder. Or it does have the admins, you can see that little play button that says add a video file, right? I could add a local video file to play back, but then I don't really have any playback controls if I do that. So that's more of our like backup.
Does that would that just pop up as one of these available video tiles, like all of our faces right now?
Let me see if I can find one. Yes, it shows up as a tile. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think it wouldn't count against your 10-person limit, but I'm also pretty sure that screen share, like if all of us were to screen share, that wouldn't count against the 10-person limit either. And I know one thing with when we've used Wirecast Rendezvous, which is like vMix calls to bring people in, they have a choice between sharing their camera or sharing their screen, which is not ideal. Whereas with this, they would share their screen and it would show up as a separate tile, right? I'm not sure is that Tim? Are you sharing that?
Yeah, I just was curious.
Yeah, so now I can, you know, set up my.
Josh, can you share like an audio source, like, you know, like how you share your computer's audio to a screen share? Playback like a full screen video in that screen share window with audio?
Not from the screen share. Yeah, I think we have not had good luck. I wouldn't recommend screen sharing and playing a video back. We should probably do more testing on that, but I don't think that's the right solution.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's kind of like our MO a lot in Zoom.
Right.
Oh, okay. Mike's leaving. Joe's coming.
Okay.
Welcome
Do
to
you
the
know
room,
if it
Joe.
does this increase latency at all with like Vimeo and IBM?
What do you mean?
No, I haven't noticed a difference. You know, like, is the stream more delayed than, say, from Wirecast or something? You mean?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I haven't noticed that.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much the same. You don't have a lot of encoding settings, right? It's going to stream at 730, 720, 30 frames. I'm not sure the bit rate, maybe 4.
Yeah.
So you don't have but we haven't had any issue with it and we've used it with IBM primarily.
Right. And then IBM's taking it and squashing it into multiple formats for people that are.
Yeah, if you want to enable that, yeah. Yeah, I generally disable, like on the IBM channel, I leave the auto thing on, but I disable 360 and 240 because sometimes IBM will like just want to default to that and for no reason. So I just remove those off the table so that worst case IBM is defaulting to 480. Because I feel like IBM does not always do a good job of correctly analyzing a user's speed.
Yeah.
And so it'll just
I agree.
scale it down for no reason.
Yeah, I've seen that. When we used to host videos for the website, they do that all the time.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'll even turn that off so that people are just forced to get the stream normally. And
720 or bust.
yeah, that's almost, yeah, I haven't had issues with that either.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what this is.
This is cool.
Yeah, I think it's it's quick, easy. It's about as complicated as Zoom, but I think the only pushbacks we've gotten, I think, from clients are when you're backstage and you're not on air, you can't see anybody, right? You can talk to them via the private chat, but you can't see their Zoom window, right?
Right.
And obviously the limit on 10 people. So if we've got a full day conference, we've got a lot of panels, we'll have to space people out and say, hey, I want you to join here at this time, you to join later this afternoon. As an admin, you can also kick people out if you need to.
Josh, can you, as far as recording, using this as a pre-record tool?
Yes.
Are we recording just program? Remember,
Yes.
like we're not grabbing ISOs of people's cameras. It's just.
That's correct. It's just a record program, and you can record that in 720. You can record it in 1080. But it depends on that person's webcam, of course. But I think this is a way better tool than Zoom to record. This Restream automatically records. So admins, if you just hit go live, right, which right now the button says end stream, but right now we're recording, it just automatically records no matter what. Even if you don't have a destination enabled. So anytime you hit go live, it just records it to the cloud. You don't even have the option to not record it, which is great. You know what I mean?
For the Zoom live broadcast shows that we do, we set up these like rehearsals where they come into a Zoom meeting and then we're essentially pushing them to a breakout room. Have you guys used this when you're doing a live show and set up a rehearsal out of it to have people come in and get used to it?
For sure, especially because it's a newer platform for people. So yeah, I would say most shows we do like a rehearsal day where people can come. Maybe it's an open window, maybe it's a specific time. People can come in, make sure that they can access it, right? That it's not being blocked or something, which generally it's that's extremely rare, but make sure that they can get in there and just kind of go through a rehearsal with them.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's
How about for a producer doing a pre-record? So the last pre-record that I did, I had to teleprompt the talent on the other side. Is there any options for kind of having any? I'm trying to think. Like, I want to record full screen this camera, but I also need to send, like just a shared screen from my computer. I literally teleprompted them just right in Word, and just
Gotcha.
mouse.
Yeah.
Any options for that?
No, I haven't run into that, and that, yeah, I think you'd have to go to Zoom with that since you get separate records.
Right.
But no, we're just recording your program output, and they're gonna see whatever you see.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Nick, are you with me, Nick? You remember doing the Boys and Girls Club stuff with the twins? I think this would be a lot better than when we used Zoom webinar. Like this exact, or how do you feel about that? Because basically we had to share to their Facebook, but we had to play games with somebody at the field. We had to have some weird dude, talk about his career. He was at home. We were bringing everybody together, but we didn't have this attractive backdrop thing and the moving people around. I think I could see it really well for that. And then somebody talked about it, but like you could have, as long as you have a registration for each one, let's say that at an expo hall, virtual expo hall, we wanted to be able to have people click and just join one of these and talk to the exhibitor. Is it a license per concurrent?
It's a license per stream, right?
Yeah. So I don't think it would be great for individual conversations. I think Zoom still probably, because you're the admin side of it's, slightly complicated.
Oh, sure.
Not necessarily for us, but
wouldn't be run by a guest who's like hosting their own, like.
Yeah, it would be a lot for them to figure out what was going on. I think this is definitely like, producer / video director role and then guests.
I think it would be helpful for me at some point to just see the back end of
Sure.
what it looks like from your view, I guess, Josh, or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't sound crazy complicated, but I thank you for pointing that out. Too complicated to expect a client to run.
Yeah, and this is, again, it's like vMix Lite, right? Like it's really not meant for a lot of two-way conversation. It's just meant to produce a quick and easy live stream.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool that a lot of Twitch users and video podcasters use and stuff like that. So
it looks great.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. Like I said, in the right situation where you've got, it's not the situation where you've got, high-end video producers who want lots of layouts and lots of clean transitions, but it's, a good fit for people who want to do something a little bit nicer than a Zoom webinar, maybe.
Me and Dan were side chatting because we just brought on TPT as a client. And literally all that they do is like, hey, everyone go watch this movie. We come do some initial announcements, and then we have a panel. And we're contracted with them to do 3 events, and they all 3 have panels associated. Like that's the main draw of what they're looking to do. I just feel like this would make it look, even though some of them they want to host out of Zoom webinar, and one of them is going to be a stream off of our website, we could still push the feed from Restream, and it would be a lot nicer look, given the the background images that you can put behind it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's not, I would say if you've got a lot of video playback, it's not my favorite. Like I just, even running video through the camera looks and sounds pretty good, but if you've got like an actual like documentary or something, I feel like it's not my first choice. Like if I had a lot of video playback, I'd probably default to Wirecast. But if you've got, if the majority of it is people talking, in panel discussions and what, then
Yeah, which these are. It's like one clip
Yeah,
of
okay.
what they did. They're supposed to do their
perfect.
assignment
Yeah.
to watch the documentary beforehand, and then the meat of it is a panel, which we're doing some Q&A with.
Gotcha. Then yeah, I think this would for sure be a good fit for that.
Sweet. I wish we did this demo 3 weeks ago because the events are this week. Like it goes.
Sure.
Yeah, it goes like
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And to me, the only really big advantage over this as opposed to like vMix or something, and I don't know how much, Brian, I mean, have you guys been using vMix calls much, or is that kind of still a
We haven't been
rarity?
using the calls a lot lately. No, I think
Not lately, no.
Because I mean, a lot of
the
times we
pre-record
do
stuff.
Wirecast and we bring people in, we're bringing people in via Zoom, and then you got like 8 Zoom computers and encoders, and it's like ridiculously complicated, right? And like, whereas this is like, 1 or 2 guys and a computer, you know what I mean? And all that incoming video is being fed through Restream servers, so you're not as dependent on your own, like with vMix or whatever. If you drop internet, I mean, all that shit goes down, right? But this is all in the cloud, so there's some advantages there for sure. A lot of trade-offs, I guess. But
What's
Yeah.
the server capacity for storing videos?
that's a good question.
There is a limit, and it scales with your subscription level.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you offhand what that limit is.
Yeah, I think I have the highest one, which again is like $50 a month or something. But I feel like it's like a terabyte. But it's one of those you would record it, and you'd want to download it immediately. Like you're not going to want to leave it on there.
Kevin, are you asking about videos to upload to playback from the server? Like, what's the size limit for that?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like from
So
the scheduler, right?
what's that?
From the
Oh.
scheduler.
Okay. Is that what you mean?
Was that?
So
I was just curious about the overall capacity of the server, but that's a good question too for individuals.
Yeah. So here, let me just touch on it again super briefly. So in an actual meeting, right? There's 3 ways to play back videos. You can upload a very short clip to this video clips section that admins can just launch, right? So that's like a 30-second commercial, stinger video, whatever. You've got a local video file playback where you can, basically put that file in. You don't really have any playback controls with that. And then the third way, which is the way we usually do it, is via an encoder, playback machine encoder into what like would be my webcam, would actually be the video window, right? And then I can always make myself full screen. Restream Scheduler, which is a separate product, requires a separate subscription. You can upload, there's different tiers, but the max tier you can upload up to a 10 gigabyte file and stream. Like we've streamed out like a 2-hour documentary that we put together, right? And upload it to their servers, and then schedule when it plays back, and then it'll stream live at that time. Does that answer your question?
for the 30-second clips, is there a file size limit or is there a time limit?
150 megabytes.
Yeah, I think it's actually a file size limit. I think
350.
the time limit, I know StreamYard's time limit is 5 minutes, but
This is
but
150.
even more importantly is that size limit.
Gotcha.
So pretty short video for
Yeah,
150
right.
megabytes. Yeah,
Small.
or very, very compressed. Yeah, either way. Cool. Well, I gotta run. But does anybody have any last minute questions? And you guys are welcome to stay on here and play around, or if anybody wants to come back in and log in as an admin, you can do that too. And Brian, you can share with them those credentials.
Okay.
But yeah, is it anybody?
Yeah. Josh, I was hoping we were going to get a chance to talk about the show we're doing on, at least me, you, Scott, or if there's anybody else from your end.
Yeah. Well, I know Jay was here and he just left just to make more room for people. He's available if you want me to. I mean, if nobody has any more questions or whatever, I'll have him pop back on, then you guys can talk about the show.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Brian and I and Dan, I think, have a 2 p.m. Right, guys?
2 o'clock, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
thanks, guys. Yeah,
Thank you.
this is useful for you. Yeah.
Super helpful.
Yeah, thanks, man. Okay, bye.
See you guys. He didn't answer. Yeah, I gotta go pick up my kids from school. But do you, if you want to just hang out in here, I'll text him and see if he can jump in. That way, you guys can talk about it. Cool.
That'd be great. Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks. My battery lasted all of like 30 minutes. Pretty great. Were you getting artifacts and like connection issues at all? Or is everything clear on your end?
Seem to be okay. I mean, right now.
It's better now, but I have fiber and it was like really the audio was really choppy for me.
It's kind of like laggy right now. I'm like changing these video transitions and it like takes like, I click it and then it takes a while for it to load.
Okay.
It's going now.
So we are using this on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, there's more to it though. I mean, with the email that Josh sent out, there's a restream element, but then there is also a Zoom element.
Okay.
Like starting a webinar.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull this back up because it was like in an email thread really far back.
Like more than a week ago?
Yeah, well, it was like there's like we got copied on that email thread,
Okay.
but so it is show PC on, so we're on Restream and then a second laptop to log in to Zoom breakout to kick off and play back a video.
And that's 3 different Zoom breakouts with the playback. I see the production schedule. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Was it 3? Well, the 24th and then the 25th.
Have you ever used Discord? No.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Hey.
I was on mute. Sorry. What's up?
Oh, hey. We just wanted to touch base about the NC Tech Diversity Inclusion.
Okay.
We were just on kind of like that Restream call earlier. Then I was like, well, get a little bit more info about what we're going to be doing on Thursday.
Yep. So the big thing is, are both of you on both days for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we want there was a need for 2 people, 2 different roles. I think Josh was expecting me to be in the Restream realm here, and then Scott doing something else.
Yeah. Okay. So for that, we're going to be I'm going to be on deck at 7:45 your time, just to kind of get everything connected, make sure I've got like video playback all assigned and stuff. For this, I'll go through the Restream part of it first because that's the predominant part of the program. Basically,
First, we've got a bunch of pre-records mixed in with some live stuff. So right off the bat, we're kicking it off with like a 10-minute video. All the intros and sponsor stuff is pre-recorded, and they're going to kick off to a fireside chat deal, maybe about 10 minutes in. And that's going to be a live segment with 2 people who are going to join as guests here. They've got some pre-set aside questions that they're going to go through for the first half of the program, and then we'll use chat to be able to like feed in other Q&A questions that have come in during the program. Goes back over to some more pre-recorded stuff, and then they go to a break. When they come back from the break, that's the first moment that we need 3 people on deck. They've got some Zoom webinars that are gonna start for breakouts. They last an hour. That would be I'm trying to do math in my head. I think it's 9:45. I'm working on the run of the show today to get the times really ironed out, but I think it's 9:45 your time to 10:45. So basically just on deck 15 minutes beforehand, making sure that the list of people who need to be panelists are in the panelist role. Once everybody's in, there's somebody actually with NC Tech who's going to brief the presenters. There's a moderator and a couple panelists, and they're pretty good at that at this point to just kind of tell them what to expect. So we shouldn't really have to be hand-holding as far as the agenda goes. It's just basically there for technical support. And once they're ready to broadcast and they're kind of ironed out, basically we'll hit the start broadcast button. People will be able to join. It's an hour-long breakout. Following the breakout, it'll come back into Restream. It's all pre-recorded material for the rest of the day on day 1. So that's pretty much all of day 1 right there. And that's the only time we're actually going out to webinar breakouts. Everything else is going to be in Restream. Day 2, it's kind of the same deal. Kickoff opening video with some sponsor pieces, and they're coming into a keynote that's been pre-recorded, but they're going to go to a live Q&A following the presentation of that pre-recorded keynote, and we'll just split some audience questions from the IBM chat into the private chat here for them to be able to answer live. From that, they go back to canned materials to introduce a break. They go on break for 15 minutes. When they come back, there's a 5-person panel that's going to be live, and it's going to be in Restream. So I'll be on deck for that, just waiting for people to join. And then after that, it's more pre-recorded material, and that's it. So most of the Restream stuff I feel pretty comfortable for. I'm going to have 3 devices up, 1 as producer, 1 as video playback, and 1 to be able to spit questions from IBM into the chat. As much as you guys want to be present for that, I don't think we're going to be capped as far as people that need to be on deck. So if you just want to watch and see it in action, that's totally cool. But the biggest thing where we really need 3 people is just going to be for those breakouts. I've got 1 of them, and I think each of you have 1 as well.
Okay.
One thing to know about the breakouts is there is a video to play back at the beginning of it when it first starts. It's just like a sponsorship video, and then the MC guy has a pre-recorded introduction that kicks it off to the moderator to start everything. What I'm doing for that is I've got a single device with a second screen. It's in Zoom webinar, so I'm just sharing second screen, playing it back in VLC. It's like a minute long. It's nothing huge. And then I'm doing it via screen share, and as soon as the video's over, just ending screen share.
And that's in all 3 breakout rooms?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how we've been rolling our Zoom webinars. Exactly the same. If we have a video playback element to it, cool. We just play that at the top of the webinar, and then it's all up to that. How early before we go broadcast live on those are we having our panelists and moderators join?
They've been told basically when the program ends or 15 minutes before. It's a little bit up in the air just because it depends on how long the live Q&A goes over or under. So we've aimed for them to roughly join about 15 minutes before. From what I've seen, it's anywhere from 15 to 5 minutes before, depending on the group. Sometimes the moderator has reached out to the presenters before this to like talk through some talking points, and they've kind of worked it out to where they know what to do. Others are kind of coming in blind. Honestly, I don't know what to expect. I'm getting the list of people today. I haven't seen it yet. So hopefully I'll be able to build in the panelist list of those today and have a better idea of it. But basically just be on deck to have the webinar at least opened 15 minutes before. So that would be 9:30 your time, I think. And then it starts at 9:45 your time.
Cool. So we're just gonna have a list of people to look for, and we're gonna hopefully get everybody in, including the moderator, and hopefully our moderator is gonna moderate and talk to them, and be like, hey, welcome everybody, we're gonna do this thing, and we're gonna go live here at 2:15, and then we just do our thing and be like,
Yeah.
well, we're gonna start with cameras off and microphones off because it's gonna be a short video clip. You see that, and when it's finished, it's all you guys.
Pretty much, yeah. And you don't even really have to play that role because NC Tech has their own staff members kind of playing that role in the breakouts. So, and by now they've done this so many times that they're usually pretty comfortable with that. So, most of the time, I'm never having to get on camera for those. It may be jumping in with audio if somebody's having some trouble. Almost always, it's an issue that they've got Zoom or Teams or something open or WebEx open that's hoarding their camera and microphone permissions. You just got to tell them to close it out. Maybe rejoin if they do that so that you can get their camera and mic on. But other than that, it's usually pretty basic. My go-to panic mode for this is usually they've got some email address that's tied into their Zoom account that they haven't told anybody about. And so when we try to get them to join as a panelist, they don't show up. First step is just to point it out to the whoever the NC Tech staff member in the room is. They're probably also looking for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if for some reason they might be able to give you a secondary email address to add to the panelist list. If not, I have just gone ahead and started the broadcast before. We're going to have to trim them for records anyway. So getting in there, people usually aren't joining way in advance for some of these. You might get a little bit of an audience, but most people are going to wait until actually like 10:45 to show up. So if you have to panically, like just in a panic, start the broadcast to find your people and get them promoted, feel free to do it because it's a lot of hoops to jump through at the last minute if for some reason people aren't showing up.
Are you guys opening? So it'd be like open up the room right at 2:15, and then are you doing go video right away? Or do you give it a minute or two, or schedule in a short amount of time to just
Well, there's no real kickoff. The video usually is the kickoff. It's basically opening with a commercial. It's like a Dell Technologies spot thing, and it's followed by the MC. So,
say, do you like start? Like when you're in the practice session, you start broadcast, and then you're just gonna roll the video, or do you usually give it like a minute or 30 seconds, or
we usually and you can kind of get a feel for this too. What I usually do is whenever panelists are in a good place, like I use panelists and what they need to talk about, and like once they're worked out, they know what they're doing. I'll usually try to start broadcast a little bit before, and then right at the starting time is when the video needs to roll. So you can hit start broadcast a little bit before that, let people join in.
That's awesome. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Do you have like numbers, like how many people we should be expecting in a room to be like, okay, that looks normal, we have X amount of people?
I've seen anywhere from 20 to about 150. So honestly, I have no idea. Registration numbers for this one. Yeah, pretty much. Like, don't use audience they've got other things to go for. And right at in the top of an hour, there isn't much like transition to get back into the live program. So probably we just need to kick it off like right when it's supposed to. If people join late and the numbers keep going up, that's great, but don't hold on for people or anything.
Right. Do you have the webinars already scheduled under Zoom Tech account?
There's Josh originally made them, and I think there's still a meeting, and they need to be changed over to a webinar. That's on my list today. I haven't seen the actual run a show yet with the actual accounts. They'll be tied into the site. Basically your operating document will be the run a show, which I hope to have completed by the end of the day today. That'll have all the links for it. It'll have what accounts they're under. I'm usually starting them from the web browser. That way, if I need to jump in and like make a change, like add somebody to the panelist, I'm in the same place and don't have to go anywhere weird. So I'll log in through Zoom in a browser and use the document that I've got to make sure that all the people that are supposed to be there in the panelist role are there. It'll have their name and email. And that should all be worked out by end of day today. and then yeah, that should be about all you need for those.
Similar
Okay.
to vMix calls, have you ever ran into permission issues?
Yeah, the biggest permission issue I see is that it's basically two applications trying to claim permissions at the same time. So a good 90% of the issues that I run into, it's ask them if they've got any other device that's trying to ask for their permissions for camera and mic at the same time, and to close those out and then try it again. Sometimes if you close it out, it still won't gain permission, so they might have to rejoin, like click out of Restream and then reopen it. If that still doesn't work, you can try closing out the browser and reopening the browser. And if not, then usually it's a hardware restriction of some sort. I haven't really gotten that deep into trying to figure out
firewall issues where corporations or whatever don't recognize the platform and they try to. The IT
a
guys.
lot of these domains that we're coming from have been doing a lot of these a lot now.
Okay.
So I think most enterprise stuff, at least for Zoom's access stuff, really hasn't run into much headache by this point because so many people are having to use Zoom. So it's only gotten easier over the past year for people running into it. I don't think you're going to have any like domain-wide major enterprise restrictions or anything, because most of the people now have been doing some of these kinds of events on a Squarespace-based platform linking over to Zoom pretty regularly. And some of these people have actually been in these same presentations years before.
Okay.
So I don't think you're going to run into like major restrictions like that.
So for our event, this one's going to an IBM channel for them, and then everybody, is that true? And everybody's viewing it on a website somewhere?
Yeah, so we built the website for the client. It's the DNI website. Every kind of like conference they do, it's some site build. They've got a top window for day 1 and day 2 that's got the IBM, like that's our CDN. And from there, most of the program is there. And then if they just scroll down, they'll find the breakout links for day 1 or just the agenda for day 2. Everything day 2 wise is in that IBM embed.
And any closed captioning or anything like that?
Not at this stage. They haven't, which is weird because it's a diversity and inclusion topic. We haven't pushed, or they haven't pushed for it either. Honestly, at this stage, we're waiting for Zoom to finish out their beta program so that the auto captioning thing can somewhat work. But yeah, there's no captions to deal with.
Okay.
Well, so on show day, Scott and I will be ready for anything, but we're not going to really be pushing any buttons until we're setting up our breakout webinars.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. We can be like we'll be online, like watching the stream. I can be, I guess, logged into Restream as well. But I mean, you said that you don't need an extra like set of hands in here. I mean, if you do, I can do anything, but if you don't, then it won't.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The reason that I think the biggest reason for having multiple people in a Restream window is basically to cover that point of failure of network connectivity. So, like if you guys were guests in this and I was on as director and running this, if I were to drop out, it would stay in the configuration that's there when I leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to join back in order to make any other switches. So in order to change the layout or anything like that, I'd have to come back in and click through. So the biggest problem with this is that, and then again, a lot of this we're doing is video playback. So if that loses connectivity, it's just like somebody totally dropping off. Yeah, so we're running hardwired. I'm actually doing this from home because my connection's more stable than at the office. So that's kind of where we're playing with this. We've got videos. If you wanted to set up secondary video playback, that could be an option. I've got the video. I'm waiting on the thumbs up from the client to just review all the stuff that's been edited for it. And once I've got that, I'm probably going to go ahead and upload all the blocks and stuff. I've got an online file for them. If you wanted to do that, cool. If not, I don't think it's really necessary.
Okay.
But that's usually how we'd scale this up, at least until the point that it's mission critical enough to need like a super source workflow or something. So yeah, I like the platform actually. The graphics lineup, using captions, pretty useful. I use captions a lot for sending out lower thirds. I'm building some custom overlays for lower thirds for this one, but a lot of times I've fired just like your basic something like that feeds in, and it works really well. That's under the captions tab. You can obviously, I think some colors have been changed.
Right. So when the edit is just you're just editing the literal text of it. Okay. And the style is that just in the graphics tab based on your brand theme color?
Right. Yeah. So I usually set a primary color, and it's either or, because so much of this is pre-recorded. They've kind of got a sort of style that's been built through different events that they've done. So I'm using that as my basic I haven't uploaded any graphics to Restream yet because I know it was in use for like this and some other stuff, but I'll probably work on that tomorrow. But basically, I'll have all of my lower thirds that have to be fired live in the overlay section under the graphics tab.
Right.
I don't know what's there now. A bunch of weird sponsored.
Bunch of random stuff, little corner bugs.
Yeah, this is the one annoying thing. I think StreamYard actually lets you select like a template group to where you can like build out different things. All of these basically are everything from every event whenever you upload logos and overlays. So all of these overlays will get deleted and I'll add in the new package. I've got some custom backgrounds for it. I don't like video clips because it seems kind of blocky. Same deal with like adding a video. Well, anything in the video file, I haven't really gotten to run without it just being kind of just stuttery. So I'm using an interface, and I'll introduce all video as if it's a webcam. But other than that, like the captions thing is super useful. Sometimes a client will be like I'll fire off during the pre-recorded keynote that's happening, just reminding people to drop questions in the Q&A box, just to keep them asking questions. So by the time Q&A comes around, hopefully we've got a couple questions on deck.
So you're going to be looking for questions in IBM and bringing them over here for the visual aspect of it, also so that people can read them.
So I don't really. Josh has used this a couple times. He said basically you can add questions into the chat function. He's tied it into the YouTube so that there's a special section just to see this.
He was talking about, that's what I was wondering about. He kind of touched on it a little bit. I was wondering if you were doing that.
Yeah. You can drop it either in the chat to do that. So obviously we're live and we could like say question 1 and so something like that. And basically it's there. We're obviously not going to bring it on screen because that's dumb, but that would just be a place to like list the different questions that come in. I haven't ran a show like that. I might do it. It just depends on how active the private chat window gets. So what I don't want to have to do is ask somebody to look in multiple places. So a lot of these presenters already are coming up with notes, or they maybe have a secondary tab open with like their list of things, or maybe a script for certain portions. So I guess it's kind of it might work, it might not. But I think most of the people for questions for tomorrow are probably expecting to look in the private chat window at the bottom. So assuming that doesn't just get overloaded with a bunch of conversation or something like that, I'll probably use that for Q&A. Just because I know there are some people who are going to have some notes talking about stuff tomorrow.
Can't pop that chat window out, can you?
No.
Or is it just... No, it's just kind of stuck there. You just can collapse it and expand it.
Yeah, I think it would. You're at that point. It's like, how does it exist within a tab? And that becomes pretty complicated JavaScript. So I'm not sure if it were an application, which maybe they head in that direction at some point. That might be something they do, but I don't know. It's come a long way. I've seen it kind of make some advancements. The captions tab when it first came out was pretty awesome. So it's good, but this is a good tool if it needs to be something better than a Zoom. But if you're in a situation where you really should be using super sources and building out complex window structures, you need to go to something more advanced than this. But this does fill a nice little niche kind of in between. It's nice not to have to push people into Zoom and deal with like 50 FPS all the time.
Yeah, that gets a little old.
Yeah, really choppy.
So, is there any other way on like show day that you want to just have a Teams chat up, or just have an email thread up, or like how so we're on the same team?
Right. Yeah, I usually just have a Teams backend connection, mostly for chat, maybe dropping files and stuff, but that'll be our go-to. The run a show will also be a living document. It'll be online somewhere. So if there's changes and stuff, that's a good place to like change out emails on the fly if we need to. I usually go through and highlight stuff as people join, depending on how many people actually need to join in, to make sure that everybody is joined who needs to, and it's easy to tell who isn't there yet. But yeah, I'd say just try to have Teams open in the background and make a group just of us. And if anything pops up, that's the quickest way to probably get in touch with us.
Cool. Yeah. What time are you going to be online?
30 minutes before start. So that math in my head. 8 a.m. your time. No, 7:45 your time. I'm just gonna get on, make sure that my video playback is working, that I've got audio, and basically be on deck for whenever. I think the people asking questions are jumping in at 9:15. A video will technically be rolling right at that moment, but they've been on the platform. We did a tech call today, so they saw how it works. They saw what they needed to see. And as soon as they come on, we'll jump into private chat and be on deck for them to start their live presentation at about 8:25 your time.
Cool. Yeah, I think our call time is 6:30 a.m. local here, so that seems to be about right. Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like they have us scheduled at our Studio G, which is our live studio, but we also have the best internet there.
Yeah. So that's fair. Internet is always my worry. I wish we had some place with some kind of fiber connection to run some of this stuff. This one isn't.
Studio G has. It's a bit of weight off your shoulders when you're like running it. You're just like feel a little bit more confident.
Yeah. I mean, that's everything, especially with video playback materials. We're doing a lot of pre-recorded stuff. This whole program, if they could get entirely into pre-records, Restream is awesome. I don't know if you guys talked about the scheduler feature.
Yeah, I did. That is actually probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah. We've done events where basically all we do is just sit down and watch. So it's only because of these live Q&A segments that we aren't using that for this whole thing. So that would be an awesome way to go. I've seen it in use. It's been pretty stable. Haven't seen any other issues. Obviously, it kind of behaves out of Studio. So you can jump into Studio and it just kind of plays the video back. We're usually just on deck, kind of watching it, ready with like a video playback machine in case we have to jump into a live mode.
Take over.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing about this whole deal, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking a bit more at that too here.
We'll see.
Well, I think I'm like sufficiently prepped for what we're gonna do. I know you said you got a nice run a show document, so I'll look at that whenever that's ready. And
then
ready to go.
There's going to be in the shared folder somewhere.
I'll email out a link. We do have a shared folder for the event. That is where it is, I think, right now. But I'll double check it. It's not in its final form, but I'll send it in an email whenever it's ready to go.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Do we
Thanks,
have?
Jay.
Hey, do we have the Zoom credentials that we're going to be using, or is that going to be in the Run a Show as well?
That'll also be in the Run a Show. I got to change them over to webinars, so right now I'm not even sure it's right. But once I get that, I'll send it over to you too.
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Later.